In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Week of Southeast Sports Plus. It is game week here as SEC teams will take the field for week one of the college football season. We, of course, have big news around the SEC. It all started late last week. The SEC deciding to move to a 9-game conference schedule. It begins in the 2026-27 year. Each team will have 3 permanent opponents. They'll also have to play one team out of the Power 4. So lots of different storylines available there as teams are getting ready. I am Gerhard Mathangani, joined by, once again, the cardboard cutout of our friend Simone Eli. She's actually on assignment in a different state right now, doing something else with our partners with the Next Star organization. So yes, doing something really, really fun, Patrick. And I think that once the people, find out, once the project actually rolls out, people will be really excited. But she obviously can't be in 2 places at one time. So we are joined in spirit by the cardboard cutout while she is here. But certainly a packed show on board today.
Yeah, certainly a packed show indeed, but I want to go back to what you mentioned already. I'm sure people, once they do find out, once it releases, where she's at, what she's doing, I mean, it's truly an incredible experience.
For sure.
I know she got a chance to do something sort of along the same lines last month, but not exactly. She had to go out to the other side of the country.
Right.
No, certainly quite the experience.
Yeah, we will stop teasing you with it.
Yes.
But yes, once it comes out, it'll be really, really good stuff. Some topics on board today. You saw up top the 9-game conference schedule. What that means for teams moving forward. There is a lot of talk about this, and a lot of coaches are already on record talking about what it means for their teams and their programs. You'll hear from one of them right here in this segment. Alabama's first game is against Florida State. Alabama is a big, big favorite in that matchup against the Seminoles. We'll dive deeper into that one as Ty Simpson is the QB1 for Kalen DeBoer and the Crimson Tide as they make the move over to Tallahassee, Florida a little bit later this week to play the Florida State Seminoles. Also, Auburn lands a 5-star commitment. All that talk, Patrick, in the preseason is about how the recruitment is gone a little crazy there for Hugh Freeze.
I thought he can't recruit.
I thought he can't recruit either. That was all the talk.
I thought he was too busy on the golf course.
That was the talk about a month ago. Oh, how things have changed as Auburn picks up a 5-star commitment. We will talk with one of our good friends about that. And then also best bets. We have SGP. That's the acronym for our show, just because, got Simone and Gerhard and Patrick, and you got SGP, but it also stands for those of us in the betting space, the same game parlay, which you could bet a lot of different things all in one game. But yeah, we will have our best bets. So how do you feel about yours? I feel like week one's always kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, week one, you don't really know what you're going to get out of those teams. And we will talk a little bit about the week 0 games here in the second hour. But that was kind of like true to my word there. You didn't really know what you were going to get.
No,
There's
you
a
don't.
monsoon over in Ireland for that week 0 game. But, I mean, it's always interesting, in my opinion, when these teams schedule high-quality opponents in week 1 or early in the season because, I mean, as you mentioned, it is a crapshoot because these – for example, you look at Alabama, you've got Ty Simpson. He's learning the system still.
Exactly.
We'll talk Texas, Ohio State here in just a little bit. There's 2 QBs. I don't care if your name is Arch Manning. You're still not – you're still pretty inexperienced, and then Julian saying so. Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting. Early on in the year, that's when you kind of got to find who are the guys and teams that you bet on, and then who are the guys and teams that are on your banned list.
Yeah, and my banned list. We'll talk about banned lists as we move forward. There's a few teams on my banned list that they're no matter what is going on, no matter who they are playing. I don't care if they're playing a high school team or an NFL team. I will not bet with them. I bet for them or against them. I'll get into some of that because I have a few teams on my chest. I don't think I have any SEC teams now that I think about it. I have 2 ACC teams that are crossed off for life.
Oh, boy.
For life. But, yes, let's go back to the topics on hand and the people that will be on the show with us this week. We'll talk about that 9-game conference schedule as teams are getting prepared for this year's season. overall. Patrick, what stood out to you about what the commissioner had to say about this 9-game conference schedule and some of the things you're looking forward to as you look ahead to next year?
You know, I was doing a little bit of research on the different Power 4 conferences and the schedules that they do play.
Right.
I didn't know that the ACC also still has an 8-game schedule,
That's
so
right.
they're the only ones left. But, you know, I thought it was very interesting that Sankey ended up, and the SEC ended up actually going to the 9-game schedule. I know for a while they talked about how the SEC is the premier conference. They had that, I don't know, the pamphlet, the packet that they handed out at the spring meetings.
Right,
I guess
right.
You can call it the SEC propaganda packet. I don't know. But I thought it was interesting, and I didn't expect it to come so soon after that fact. But the thing that really stood out to me, the 3 permanent opponents, I feel like that's going to be a very interesting thing to look at because you got to think about it. These are permanent opponents, so you got to schedule your opponents. Like the Iron Bowl, that's obviously going to
that's
be
not
really a tough one.
Yeah.
But you know, for the teams that don't really have these SEC rivalries, you gotta. I mean, it creates new ones in a way if you think about it.
It will create a lot of new ones, and I think that if you were going to go a 2-team permanent record or per permanent opponent, for the most part, you can nail everybody's 1 to 2. You know, with Auburn and Alabama, as you mentioned, I think Auburn and Georgia's not going anywhere. I think Alabama and Tennessee is not going anywhere. I also think Texas and Texas A&M, that would be a permanent. Texas Oklahoma will be a permanent. Florida LSU, I think, will be a permanent rivalry. Florida Georgia, of course, it used to be the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And I think even Florida Tennessee. I mean, I think some of it is you'll have some rivalries that'll break apart.
Yeah.
And then you'll have some that'll be there for forever. And then some new ones, some interesting ones. Like, who does Missouri get? Because Missouri, they've been in the league for a really long time, but not enough to forge a whole lot of insanely good rivalries because, keep in mind, when they were divisions, Missouri was in the Eastern Division, even though they were out west, even though they were out west as far as the map goes, they were in the East Division, and so they didn't feel like a natural rivalry to South Carolina, or Florida, or Georgia, Kentucky, some of the others. And so it'll create what I think are some really compelling storylines for teams that did not have natural rivalries in the division.
And I think that's kind of the storyline of college sports in general right now is the renewing of some new rivalries.
Yes.
I mean, with conference realignment and all of the things that have gone on in that realm, it's broken up all of the traditional rivalries. I mean, you could go back to the old Big East football falling apart, and that's where I could that's like the one where I can like put my finger on and be like, yeah, maybe right there is where it all started to unravel. But you know, I think looking ahead 20 years from now, this moment for the SEC moving to the 9-game schedule, moving to those 3 permanent opponents, it could really set the table for some great matchups in the future.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And also, keep in mind, this also comes on the heels of the College Football Playoff Committee. They do now factor in. There is a metric now that will be involved in the selection for the teams that are going into the playoff for the strength of record. So, I mean, that part to me, I thought was really interesting because it now allows, because let's just say that the committee allows now, it's not going to be all necessarily based on, just like exactly wins and losses. They will factor in the strength of your schedule, and if they expand to 16 teams or 14 teams. I think because you have those two things, now you can create more compelling matchups in the SEC without teams having to feel like, okay, well, we got to go and win every single game. And you now have, in my opinion, a 2-loss team, even a 3-loss team can make it in. And so let's just say you schedule another good Power 5. Let's say you lose one of your permanent 3 games or just any of the SEC games on your schedule, but you win that Power 4 game. I mean, I think that it makes great matchups for fans to me, but it also makes sense for the schools to say you could breathe a sigh of relief just knowing that you don't have to walk the high wire perfectly, so to speak.
Yeah, and we'll get to Greg Sankey's quote from when the SEC announced this on Thursday in just a minute. But, I'm not going to fake me being like, I like the college football committee-based model. Personally, I believe it's got to be you play your way in. But I do like that now the committee is factoring in, okay, who did you play? Because,
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, now you're going to punish – I'm stepping outside the SEC here for a minute, but Indiana just a couple weeks ago announced that they are canceling their home. I believe it was a home and home against Virginia.
Yep.
In order to schedule, and I think they said the reasoning was, well, we're just going to start scheduling cupcakes.
Yes. Yeah.
And now this kind of puts an emphasis on you got to play good opponents.
Right. You kind of, and it walks in the opposite direction. And I hope Indiana now goes to that different direction. Goes to the opposite direction. You teed up Greg Sankey perfectly. Let's hear or listen to or see what he had to say. As far as I know, I don't think he has gone on any broadcast platform, so to speak. But he did issue a couple of statements, and this is one of the things he said on Thursday, that adding a 9th SEC game underscores the university's commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation. And he's really bragged about this for a really long time. He continues on saying this format protects rivalries, increases competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional power opponent ensures SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in the college football playoff. So he laid it out there, in my opinion, really well there, Patrick. He says we get to keep all these rivalries, which is good for the fans. We get to protect those. Our revenue, the money's still in a good spot. He didn't say that, he didn't say money verbatim, but in my opinion, that's what he's saying when he alludes to the great matchups. And then that third one was that, hey, we're in a good position here because you have to play another Power 4 team. We're in a good position here to still get as many teams as possible into the college football playoff.
And I mean, all of those points it goes back to money.
Check. Exactly.
Check.
Yeah.
You're protecting rivalries.
Yeah.
That's always going to make you money.
For sure.
You look at revenue from the Iron Bowl each year. I mean, obviously, as people may know, I'm not really an SEC guy. I'm a Big 12 ACC guy. But I can attest to the backyard brawl between Pitt and West Virginia. That rivalry coming back for football really rejuvenated the programs.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at tickets for fun the other day for this year because it's always fun to do that.
Right.
Cheapest one for that contest up in Morgantown, it's like $280.
Jeez, that rivalry always reminded me of the most SEC-ish rivalry that is not in the SEC. It's just as far as that kind of good old-fashioned hate, but you still have mutual respect.
Right.
Send a lot of players to the pros. Both programs do. So there's a lot of respect nationally. And for the most part, not every year, but for the most part, both teams are ranked, or both teams are knocking on the door of the rankings. So it's actually a compelling football there as well. Plenty of coaches have weighed in on this entire situation. I've read some comments from Kirby Smart. I read some comments. I believe the coach over at Tennessee, I think Josh Heupel has made some announcements as well. And of course, a lot of coaches have talked about this on the front end as well. But now that it's official, coaches now are not only talking about their week 1 opponents, but they're also talking about what this 9-game conference schedule will look like moving forward. Coach Eli Drinkowitz, he was very vocal at SEC Media Days about what he thinks with the college football playoff, allowing 30 teams into the college football playoff. And so this is a man not shy of saying something a little bit outlandish, but I did think he brought some sober arguments to what a 9-game conference schedule will look like and what it might mean as far as the ramifications goes. We'll have his sound, and then we'll talk about it a little bit after.
I think from a fan standpoint, it's awesome. I really do. I think adding those games are great for the fans. I think it's going to be a challenge. Obviously, I think there's going to be unintended consequences from increasing the schedule difficulties. I think there's going to be unintended consequences with having a 4 and 5 game rotation where you only have 4 conference home games and there's going to be 5 conference road games, which now makes scheduling even more challenging because you've just told us that we have to have 1 Power 4 outside of that, which, you could be looking at a 6 home game, 6 road game schedule, which would make no sense when you spent $250 million building a North End Zone project. So I think there's a lot of challenges there that you're gonna have to figure out and get right. So, and it's not exactly like they're giving us a lot of time to do that. We don't even know who our 3 permanents are. We don't know what the schedule looks like, and we got to do it here in the next 9 months. So, or really 6 months. And you're gonna have to buy out some stuff. So, we figured it out before. But I do think there's a lot of unintended consequences that hopefully that everybody was aware of on that stuff. And, we'll go from there.
Tell you what, Patrick, he was really, really, really honest about it. I mean, he said on the front end, it's good for the fans, but then he said at the back end, there might be some things that we're not looking at, big picture. And he brought up something I didn't think about is the fact that they might have to play, more road games and home games, and they just committed nearly $250 million to their home renovations.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about money right before that, but I mean, you look at the scheduling. I always thought it was interesting this year that it's the same. You play the same opponents as you did last year. You just flip who's home. Where now Alabama, as we'll talk about them in a little bit. They only have 5 road games this year. So I mean, it'll really put a financial burden on Mizzou if this is actually like a thing.
Right, and everybody's now doing the prediction game to find out who's who. This is just one source. I went to one of our friends over on the internet, and they're predicting everybody's 3 conference opponents. Well, for Mizzou, this is the ones that they predict: Oklahoma, which is natural.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I could see that.
I could see that. Vanderbilt, which is interesting, and Auburn. So,
I don't know about the Auburn.
I don't know about the Auburn one either, because you have to figure you already know Auburn's 2 with the Iron Bowl in Alabama and game 2 being Georgia, the Deep South Soldiers rivalry. So if you have those 2 already, I don't know about the Auburn one, but Missouri to me is a really interesting one. Who do you put them with? I think Texas's dance card will be full. I think Oklahoma does make sense. Vanderbilt's kind of iffy, but it really does. I think his reservations are noteworthy. In my opinion, as to some of the reasons why this could cause some issues. But his first thing is be good for the fans, and since we're kind of fans, it'll be good for us to watch it all play out there in the SEC. Coming up on today's show, we have a ton of good guests. We always do. Today we have 2 really, really strong voices in the area. Of course, Roger Wallace will join us from Austin. He's sports director over at KXAN, and David Elstein returns back from our friends over in Jackson, WJTV. Lots to discuss as far as it relates to a big player from that area now going to an SEC school, as well as some of the players and games and things to look out for as both Mississippi and Mississippi State start their conference schedule. Our friend Simone's out of state. Patrick and I are holding down shop here for Southeast Sports Plus. Week 1 of the college football season kicks off essentially this week. We will preview one of the big games, Alabama, Florida State. That game in Tallahassee. We'll preview the matchup coming up next. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. It is a Monday of game week. Lots of teams are playing on Saturday. We have one playing on Friday, a big Auburn-Baylor game to kind of kick off the SEC slate, and then a bunch of games on Saturday, going all the way till Monday, Patrick. So it's a bit Monday. Thursday to Monday, I believe, is the official week one, and I honestly can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, week 0 is kind of like the appetizer, then week 1 is the actual, main entree. But, there's a great slate of games coming up this week. I think 3 top 10 matchups in week 1. I mean, that's always what you want to see. But
absolutely. And the most anticipated matchup is, of course, Texas, Ohio State. We will catch up with our friend Roger Wallace in just a bit. But another really interesting matchup is going over in Tallahassee. It's a P4 versus a P4, one of the top teams in the nation. Alabama, the number 8 team right now in the country, will make their way down to Tallahassee, Florida to play in a really hot place over there at Doak Campbell Stadium to take on Florida State. Kalen DeBoer enters year 2 with a lot of changes here, Patrick, and one of them obviously is quarterback, going from Jalen Milroe. Had a quarterback competition this past fall. Now they're going with Ty Simpson. There you see him in the number 15. Won that quarterback job over Austin Mack and Keelan Russell. And now he is the man. He is QB1, and he did something that not a lot of guys do, especially at his position, is to stick around after not getting the starting job 2 years ago. I mean, he goes all the way back to Bryce Young. Bryce Young has already had, in my opinion, kind of a full-ish career in the pros. He's already had a struggled as a rookie, came back, and then had a solid second year as well. So I mean, I think that this is a really interesting matchup here between these two programs and a seasoned quarterback that, in my opinion, is getting a well-deserved look there at QB1.
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about it last week where Ty Simpson, all he's got to do is just be a game manager, just following the footsteps of the Alabama quarterbacks behind him. We talked a little bit, Jam Miller, the star running back, he'll be out presumably until the first SEC game.
Right.
But, I mean, he's just got so many weapons on the outside. All he has to do is just get it in the hands of those guys and keep it out of harm's way to the point where I think Alabama could be really good. But you did talk a little bit about how it's a rarity nowadays for these guys to wait it out and get their chance.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Julian Sayin in a little bit.
Right.
One guy that didn't wait it out
and
now is getting his chance.
Yeah.
But, I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup for both sides. Obviously, Alabama coming off their worst season since, I believe it was 2007, which, I mean.
It goes back pre-Saban.
And then FSU trying to bounce back after their 2-win season last year that I don't think anybody could have predicted. So, I mean, it's definitely one of those statement games in week 1 where, one team is going to come out feeling pretty good, and then the other team is going to be like, all right, is this a repeat of last year?
Yeah, and there's a really interesting nugget when it comes to Florida State because standing on the opposite sideline from Alabama will be one Gus Malzahn, who is the offensive coordinator for Mike Norvell. And we all know that Gus's offenses gave Auburn fits for the longest time when he and Nick Saban were going back and forth, whether it was on the plains or whether it was there in Tuscaloosa. I know it's interesting. It's a different dynamic now as Florida State comes in, as you said, a team that's basically looking to rebuild, but a program that has won championships before. This is a program, their fans remember the old Bobby Bowden days when they were a perennial top 5 team, top 10 team. I think they had one of the longest runs ever as a top 10 team under Bobby Bowden, and then obviously rekindled a lot of that success under Jimbo Fisher and won a national championship with Jameis Winston. And then with Mike Norvell, it felt like a bit of up and down. A couple of years ago, they were in the hunt for a spot in the college football playoff in the national championship or a spot in the college football playoff, and then obviously everybody gets hurt on their team. They get bypassed, and the rest is kind of history. But this is a Florida State team, in my opinion. This will be their Super Bowl. I mean, not program-wise, because their program's obviously, been everything. But if they can get their season off with a big win over Alabama, this is a moneymaker for them as far as their morale moving forward.
And I think it's interesting, coming in, they actually have the experience advantage at quarterback. Thomas Castellanos coming in from Boston College. I mean, here is a guy who kind of was up and down at BC. He was, I believe who's over there now? Bill O'Brien?
Right, yeah.
Is that who it is?
Yep.
He's a guy that, he had moments where it looked like he was the guy.
Right.
And then there were other games where it was like, yeah, man, is this really our guy? So, I feel like Florida State kind of taken a little bit of a gamble here.
Yeah,
I mean, they definitely took a gamble last year picking up DJU in the transfer portal.
Right.
But again, nobody could have predicted that
exactly.
he would go from the Oregon State DJU to the FSU DJU.
Yeah. Nobody could have. And Castellanos has some interesting comments talking about how Nick Saban's not there to save Alabama.
Yeah.
We will hear from the Florida State side in just a moment, but let's hear from the Alabama side as Kalen DeBoer gets ready to start up year 2 there in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, you walk in, from my shoes, you walk into the offense and defense and special teams, especially offense and defense, and you see a lot of different film being shown for different reasons, right? Personnel, scheme, what they were last year, and then the same thing on offense. And, more probably scheme and what they were a year ago as far as their talent returning. So there is a lot, but you got to make sure you're not chasing ghosts and you're trying to keep things simple for us, and we can do what we do. And we have enough stuff that we see from each side of the ball, that you can – we see a lot of variations of our offense. We see a lot of variations, from our defense. But there are certainly some things that we expect that are different than what we do on offense and defense, whether it's a style of quarterback that they have or what they do defensively, as a system. There certainly are some differences. So we gotta be ready for anything and everything.
And one of the things I really found interesting is that exact same press conference. One of the things he said was, you don't want to chase ghosts because there's so many new things. And so if you just go down these rabbit holes of trying to scout your opponent and you're doing it, for example, you're taking what Gus Malzahn did when he was at Central Florida and when he was at Auburn, and you're trying to implement that and show your defense that for things they could see. He didn't do that at Florida State. So if you don't know the personnel, or if you know a little bit about the personnel, you could end up what he called chasing ghosts. And I really like that analogy because you can kind of outthink the room in certain ways in game ones when there are so many unknowns.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a firm believer in you can do – there is such thing as over-scouting and over-planning.
Right.
To the point where, you lose who you are.
Right.
You lose your identity.
Yeah.
I mean, you can apply that to anything. You can overthink anything in life.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a point where – these are guys that have played football.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's football. You just got to go out and execute.
Right, exactly. And we heard from the other side as well, as Florida State representing the ACC. I know that conference would love nothing more than a big win over a team out of the SEC, especially a team that comes in, top 10 team. They knocked on the door of the college football playoff last year. Florida State looking to rebuild going into this year. The Proud program looking to get off to a really hot start here in 2025.
I'm really not trying to prove anything. I just want to go out here and play ball and have the opportunity to lead, Florida State. I think I said it the other day. Like I'm blessed. I look back to where I came from and where I'm at now. I'm like, I'm the starting quarterback at Florida State. That means a lot to me, and I have to represent and do the best that I can to not just for this team and my teammates and coaches, stuff like that, but like previous players that allowed us to be here today, and built this thing up. So my job is to be here now is just to try to get this thing back to where Florida State football used to be, and that's my biggest goal. I'm not trying to prove anybody to do this for me or do anything like that. I just want to go out there and play football, have fun with the guys, and win. Yeah, it's very high. I'm not gonna lie, it's very high. We compete. And we're battling every day. The defense getting after us, we getting after defense. It's going back and forth. I was always told that practice is supposed to be harder than the game, and I don't know how hard the game is going to be yet. But practice is pretty hard, just because we're competing and we're battling, and everybody's just competing and giving it their all every play. So it's very high right now.
Some interesting comments there, Patrick. Yeah. He said he wants practices to be harder than the games. I think he'll find out on Saturday. And I'm not, obviously don't know how the game will play out. But if it plays out the way the odds makers say it'll play out, then the game will be harder than practice because we got about a 2-touchdown spread here in this matchup. Yeah. But Castellanos he's he's not shy with words. He's already kind of threw a Molotov cocktail to that defensive meeting saying that Nick Saban's not there to save them. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Bama's a 13.5-point favorite. Over under that matchup is 50.5 there. So we'll see how it plays out in Tuscaloosa. Of course, the game that everybody is looking out for is that one over in Buckeye Nation as Texas makes the road trip over to Columbus to play the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. We will catch up with our buddy Roger Wallace coming up next. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. It is Monday of game week in college football. I know we had some games in week 0, a bit of an appetizer, some good games as well as the appetizer, but it starts in earnest this week, and there are 3 top 10 matchups, as Patrick Walsh mentioned. It was Patrick Walsh and myself. Simone out on assignment today, but we have a great list of people on tap here to preview the biggest and best games all in college football. Of course, the #1 game in the country is a rematch of last year's college football playoff semifinal, Texas and Ohio State. We are pleased to be joined once again by Roger Wallace, a good friend over in Austin. Roger, first off, it is now game week. How does this week feel? Being in the game, I've been in this game now for close to 20 years now. This week overall, as you're getting ready to cover a big game and a big opponent, how does this one feel as you do it once again here in 2025?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys are the same way finally, because we've been talking about it so much, but I was on campus today. Sark had his normal Monday press conference, just happens to be the first day of school as well. So yeah, it was pretty chaotic on campus. And Sark, he doesn't hide his emotion when it comes to that kind of stuff. Right. He's like a sports fan. He's fired up, and he loves the idea of going to Ohio State. Said he's never been there. He loved the idea last year of playing at Michigan, and then he'll dial back into the coach and, I don't talk to my players any more this week than I will any other week, because the key to way I coach is consistency. And all of a sudden, if I put it in their head that this week is any different than next week or the week after, then maybe that affects the players. But you feel it, no doubt about it, here in Austin as the Longhorns get set to go to Columbus.
Right. You bring up such a great point there, because a lot of times when coaches will say things like we treat it like a normal week, or we don't care about the #1 ranking, or this matchup really doesn't mean much. A lot of it, for people who have watched college football for a long time, who consume college football media, it just comes out as coach speak. And people just say it's coach speak. And now coaches will even say, I know I'm doing coach speak, but I'm not doing coach speak. It's actually real. How, maybe relieving is it for you to hear a coach say that, and then a Titanic matchup like this, he plays true to his word as far as travel goes, as far as the way that he talks to his team and the way that he handles the press?
Yeah, and he said it. Hey, what an epic matchup for week 1, 1 and 2 in the polls. And he added to that, now I'm the first one to say the polls don't matter, but then he turns it back to it's great for the game of college football because it gets people talking about the game. So he understands that, 20 years ago when Texas went to Ohio State, if they lose that game, there's a chance they don't face USC in the Rose Bowl. Oh, by the way, offensive coordinator was Steve Sarkisian. So back then, this matchup meant so much more. Now, as he says, and all coaches are going to say that, it's the first data point we have and kind of figuring out where we are, and there's going to be plenty of time to make it up over the course of the season, especially in the SEC. But he doesn't back down from the fact that this is a huge showcase game for the sport of college football. Doesn't mean he's going to treat anything different this week for his team as far as getting ready to go to Columbus.
Hey, Roger, we found out last week that Ryan Day named Julian Sayin the quarterback for the Buckeyes. How does Sark kind of treat the game plan going into a game where a guy is basically inexperienced like Sayin is?
Yeah, and I know Arch Manning's made a couple of starts, but again, he hasn't done much on the road. Played a little bit in the Texas A&M game as a runner, so you could flip side that a little bit. But he knows Sayin. He recruited Sayin. He knows how talented he is, and maybe more important, he knows how much talent he's got around him, because if you put the ball in the area of Jeremiah Smith, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to come down with it. So they're replacing that backfield that was so good in the Cotton Bowl against Texas with Henderson and Judkins. But it's kind of like Texas at this point. They are a program where, okay, the names might not be familiar, but the talent is pretty familiar, and I think he feels confident with his guys. The big question on this side is that offensive line with 4 new starters. But I don't think he was surprised that Sayin was named the starter, and I doubt they do anything different. Now, Sayin's going to have to deal with those edges from Texas, All-American Anthony Hill. They got a kid named Ethan Burke on the other side from here in Austin, same high school as Michael Taff, and guys like Drew Brees and Nick Foles. And they've got Colin Simmons, the sophomore, who had 9 sacks. So he's going to have to deal with that as well. But I don't think anything changed because Sayin was actually named the starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Arch Manning talked last week, and I think that was for the first time since SEC Media Days. He had a funny quote that said, I was actually relieved to be away from you guys for a little time. Of course, he said it with a smile on his face, and I laughed out loud when I heard it. But it just kind of speaks to me the way he's handled this entire situation from the time that, that Quinn Ewers left and it was going to be his job. How do you feel like he has handled everything up until this week, and what are some of the things you'll be looking for between here and game day from him, whether it's what he shows on the field, the practice field, if you're allowed to see it, and off the field when it comes to QB1 for the Longhorns?
Yeah, well, and he met with the media later in the afternoon, about an hour after Sark did, and one of the things that he said that kind of stuck out is we realize we have the target on our back, but we'd like to kind of flip that mentality and feel like we're the hunter. And, why wouldn't Ohio State have just as big a target on their back? They just don't have a quarterback with the last name of Manning to go with it. But he's handled it really well. I don't think anyone's surprised. I think he was that way growing up. I think he had great role models in being humble and, kind of making fun of yourself with Eli and Peyton, not to mention his dad, Cooper, and grandfather Archie. It was funny last week. because the story came out in Texas Monthly that Archie said, oh, he'll be back for another season. And Arch was asking us, I don't know where he came up with that. And he texted me and apologized. And I didn't follow up, but I want to say, hey, that's pretty cool. Your grandfather's still texting. But, that's kind of the way he has been all along. I don't think it's an act. I don't think he acts one way away from the cameras and one way with the cameras. And it's so funny, guys. You shut your eyes and you hear a little bit of Eli, you hear a little bit of Peyton, and then you open your eyes and you see a little bit of body language of both. It's really interesting to kind of watch him. And it's year 3 for him. It's just year 1 where he's getting the attention that probably is warranted rather than just because of his last name.
Right. And, God, you bring up such a great point because we talked about this last week, and Simone said if you close your eyes, he sounds like a cooler version of Peyton. And I said that's kind of Eli, but from a preparation standpoint, he does sound like Peyton Manning. And so I thought that was a really interesting blend. And I was right there with you on his grandfather still texting. I thought that was hilarious as well. And I think even to that, he just, let it roll off his back and was just like, hey, he said it was fine and everything's good there in that regard. There's going to obviously be a lot of talk about these offenses, but I'm really, really interested in the defense. This defense for Texas is loaded. You mentioned Colin Simmons earlier, and some of the ways that this defense will have as far as pure talent goes. Several guys that are, whether it's the coaches team or the AP team, all preseason, whether it's all SEC, all America. What do you think the keys are for this defense as they go into a really hostile environment to play against Julian Sayin and Ryan Day, who's a really good play caller?
Well, I guess the big question from this angle will be how do they hold up in the middle, just because they went out and they went heavy in the portal for interior defensive linemen. They love what they have on the outside. Mentioned Simmons and Ethan Burke. Anthony Hill will drop down in the box. Trey Moore will do the same as well. But they went out and they got so many different guys, including Hero Kanu from Ohio State, who will certainly be in the rotation on that defensive line, as well as Cole Brevard. He's from Purdue. They went out and got, from Arkansas. They got Travis Shaw from North Carolina. So that was their point of need. Now, what do they do in the game? How do they stand up in the middle? Because they like what they have on the edges. They like what they have in the secondary, led by Michael Taff, All-American, the former walk-on, who's turned into All-American. But he doesn't have Jahdae Barron to lean on, and they don't have Andrew Makuba to leave on. But Makuba wasn't even a starter last year when they opened up against Colorado State. Now he's getting pick sixes for Philadelphia. It was Derek Williams who went down with an injury. Another name to keep in mind, guys, is a guy named Jelani McDonald. They love this real lanky athletic safety. So again, it's kind of been what I've been banging this drum all offseason, is just because the names change. If you look at the way Texas has recruited and developed, it's one thing to recruit the guys, but then develop, and the next guy might be better than the last guy. We don't know, and we don't know what happens when. Go back to Arch, guys. What happens when he throws a pick or makes a bad decision? Then it's the response that you look for.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that he's able to bounce back, and I think that's a key thing, and you really harped on that defense. I'm really excited to see it. We got a chance to hear from Steve Sarkisian ahead of the big matchup against Ohio State.
Naturally, it's a tall task. We've talked about this at length before the season, but we've got a tough road slate this year, and this is the first one of a few to come. And so it serves us good to have to go on the road early, find out about ourselves, find out where we're at as a program, where we can improve, and where we can continue to get better, because we're going to travel more than any other SEC team this year in our conference. And so this is a great opportunity for us to go do that. Naturally, we believe in our process on the road. We've won 11 in a row on the road now, and they haven't been easy. They've all been very difficult. Going on the road is tough. But this is going to be a heck of a matchup for a great environment against a really good team who's really well coached, who's had a ton of success.
And Coach talked about the daunting road schedule that it is, and just how this game kind of tees up what is to be a really hard schedule there on the road as you take a wide-eyed view, a wide-angle view of what Texas has to come both on the road and at home. How will this game help prepare them for what's ahead?
Such a weird schedule, guys, when you look at they go to Columbus and they'll be home for 3, and then they're not home in the entire month of October. That does include the OU matchup, so that's the neutral in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. But they start off SEC in Gainesville. They've got to go to Kentucky and Mississippi State. in mid-November, they go to Georgia. So a much different looking road schedule than last year, where they went to two places where they're kind of familiar with, A&M and Arkansas, went to Vanderbilt. Really good team, really tough game, but it wasn't that, typical SEC environment. Right. For one, their stadium was under construction. Yeah. Two, Longhorn fans bought up a bunch of tickets, as they do, especially Texas's first trip to a new place. So this will be a much different looking road schedule from last year.
Roger, we had a little bit of news come out about Steve Sarkisian talking about how he had to fix the entitled culture when he came to Texas in 2021. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, and honestly, guys, that's been kind of the calling card for the last 3 coaching changes. And, that's what Charlie Strong talked about when he replaced Mac Brown. I think it is when the talent and the effort doesn't match the either expectations or the hype coming in. And, the joke is Texas will get a commitment from a 3-star and then become a 4-star, and a 4-star becomes a 5. And so some of it's not their fault. But, yeah, I think it's just, kind of the way that they're perceived to carry themselves, the things that they expect to have. It was a big deal when they decided no bus to practice. It's a bit of a walk, and that's one of those calling cards where they're entitled. They get to jump on a bus. I think Sark is more of a professional mentality. So probably some of that when he got there, but he expects, his team to act like pros. I think for the most part, they get treated like pros. Now they get paid like pros. So I think that thought is kind of gone a little bit, but that's something that's been kind of follows Texas over not the years, but the decades, is that people perceive that Texas thinks they're something more than they really are, or they deserve something that they haven't earned. I think that's what he means by entitled is, I don't care what you were coming in. Right. When we line up at practice, it's going to be the best guys at practice. And if that's a walk-on named Michael Taff, then he's going to be your starting safety.
Absolutely. I think it's an amazing point. And like you said, it does offer opportunities for guys like Michael to come in and really show that they belong not only on the upper echelon of the SEC, but of the entire country. Before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts on some news that came out last week with the SEC going to the 9-game conference schedule. Everybody now is doing the who are the permanent opponents game. I think for Texas, we know a couple of those. But number one, your thoughts on the SEC making this move, and your thoughts on what Texas's future schedule looks like.
Yeah, my guess, guys, this might affect Texas and Texas A&M more than any other programs, because when Texas came in with OU, that was going to be their one rivalry game every year with the 8-game schedule. It wasn't necessarily going to be Texas A&M, which is unfathomable to think that they're back in the same conference and they might have gone several years without playing. So that'll take care of that. The other one, obviously, is Arkansas. Now, for the rest of the conference, there are going to be some natural ones, and there are going to be some that, they just try to shoehorn in there to give schools 2 more matchups that appear to be some sort of rival. But for Texas, Texas A&M and Arkansas, it's pretty natural. And, it takes away a guaranteed home game. Probably takes away a guaranteed win. The fact that they have to play a Power 4 or Notre Dame. Texas has been in line with that. They're taken care of through 2029 with their schedule anyway. And then even a little bit later, they've got Arizona State on the schedule, so they'll have to fill in a couple of holes. But, hey, they got Ohio State coming in. They still have Michigan coming in, and they've got a home with Notre Dame down the road. So they're set with that part of the schedule. But 9 conference games, it's going to be even tougher. And I think for the fans, you get to see teams more often than with the 8-game schedule. And it was so odd that you could go several years without facing another conference opponent. Same thing is happening in the Big 12 and in the Big 10.
Absolutely, Roger. Your insight is always great. I'm gonna put you on the spot here because I don't know if you actually do this. Do you do score predictions at all? You do predictions at all?
See, I bail out because I'm part of the UT Radio Network, so I pull the Herb Street.
Yeah.
Calling the game.
Yeah.
How about that for a cop-out.
No, I get it, actually. I've talked to people who've been around.
I predict it's going to be about 20 degrees cooler in Columbus on Saturday than it is in Austin on Saturday.
That's the safest bet in America. Absolutely. Roger, you're the absolute best. Safe travels to Columbus, and we will talk to you after the game ends, and hopefully your boys there in the orange get the W.
Right on, guys. We'll talk to you. Thanks.
Absolutely. Roger Wallace, sports director over at KXAN in Austin, Texas. He will be in a place where everybody wants to be there in the shoe. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we will talk a little bit more Week 1 games. We'll have some best bets coming up a little bit later. Stay with us. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus, wrapping up a very, very fast first hour of the first day of game week. Patrick Walsh, Gerhard Mathangani joining you, Simone Eli out on assignment. Patrick, I think everybody's excited for the week 1 of the college football season for a lot of different reasons. And one guy who used to play college football now hosts a show of his own. He's got something interesting cooking up on his show here, Patrick.
Can we take a look at this?
This is Joe Klatt.
Looking for a superfan who is willing to get an Ohio State tattoo live on stage during our live show on August 28th. DM the Joel Klatt show telling us why you're interested. I mean, college football fans, and honestly, fans in general, will do anything for their teams.
Yep.
I always make fun of the people that get, like, for example, Alabama, Crimson Tide, 2026 national champions before the season's even over.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
no,
come
those
on, guys,
to
what
me,
are we doing?
Those to me are the crazy ones. The people who are crazy are the ones that put in the tattoos before the event happens.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it doesn't happen, now you have to find out a way to cover it up or to make it look like it's something else.
You just have it beforehand. Oh, I'll use a MLB example. Oh, here's the New York Mets.
Right,
But
yes.
at least they made the wild card, so I'll just put that they made the wild card.
Here's a playoff team here from that season. No, but Joe Klatt looks like he'll call the game, of course, with Gus Johnson, and now looking for somebody who is a huge Ohio State fan to get a tattoo there. But I mean, he gets hundreds of thousands of views, so I mean, you'll have a big audience to be able to do it too, and see you get that tattoo. So we'll see if any Ohio State fans answer that call for a tattoo. Well, coming up in our second hour, we'll talk to David Edelstein and have our best bets coming up next on Southeast Sports.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
It is a beautiful Monday of game week here on Southeast Sports Plus, and a lot to talk about as far as recruiting goes. Auburn lands a monster player on the defensive side of the ball. Braylon Womack choosing the Tigers, the #1 safety in the entire country, and he sits right in the backyard of one of our good buddies, and David Edelstein, who joins us from WJTV there in Jackson. First off, #1, happy game week. I know that your plate is very, very full right now. It's kind of like all of us here in the Southeast. You're balancing high school football, college football. The NFL is just around the corner. How you been, man?
I'm doing well. It's not my birthday this time, but this is what I say to everyone. I say Happy New Year, because this is the real start, right? Forget about January. We are all waiting for essentially August 30th each year.
No question. Actually, I like that a lot. Happy New Year. I think we'll start that as a thing. This time of year, into July, Happy New Year. I love it.
I'll put that in the super tomorrow.
Exactly.
Please. Yeah.
For sure.
It's something to celebrate. You got to celebrate in life. That's what I feel like.
No question. No question. Of course, there's a lot to dive into as it relates to the college football 2025 season. But I do want to talk about something that happened that as it relates to college football in the future. One of the guys from your area, and Braylon Womack, made his decision official, choosing the Auburn Tigers, a 5-star prospect. How did this go down there in your area? And talk about the recruiting battle to be able to get his services and the ultimate decision that he made.
Yeah, of course, this is immediately national news when you're talking about a guy with this talent. So this past Thursday at Hartfield Academy in Flowood, Mississippi, right down the street from our station, it was all eyes on Braylon Womack. But it's nothing new to have all the eyes on Braylon Womack, because he just was named the Mississippi Gatorade Football Player of the Year last year. So I felt like we were just kind of redoing that again, back in the auditorium, back with everyone there, just a lot of other reporters from national outlets there as well. But of course, we were there and we got to speak with him and his family. We've known them for the past few years, and he had narrowed down his 30 or so offers down to 4 that he was going to choose from. It was between Auburn, which of course he chose, Florida, Texas A&M, and Ohio State. And he pulled out the Auburn hat and said that ultimately this is where he felt he would be most comfortable, where it was the best decision for his family. And he said something really interesting. I know we'll hear from him in a moment, but that he says he knows what he has to do in order to help this Auburn program turn around and be brought up to that next elite level. Some people might look at Auburn and say they haven't produced maybe a top draft pick or at his position or things like that, and all that analysis you can do that a player might look at when they say, is this a place that has the history of bringing athletes like me to the next level, the NFL level? What's interesting is how that relates to his high school career. Having covered him over the past few years, I've seen him help turn Hartfield around, a newer school in our area. What is it? Only been about 10, 15 years that this institution existed. Right. They just won their first 2 now back-to-back state championships ever, from having not even been in the conversation to a 22-game win streak, including an undefeated season 2 years ago in the state championship, while also playing behind guys on both sides of the ball like Kenzie West and Reginald Vaughn, both who also were invited to the U.S. Army Senior Bowl the past few years. So he wasn't even the star on the team. Now he's the second overall recruit in Mississippi, first nationwide at his safety position. We also just saw some video of him catching some enormous touchdown passes on offense, where I'm sure they'll utilize him again. So the way that he turned Hartfield around, I'm sure he'll do in college too. And just a big deal for a guy who's going to have a big season.
No question. And you talked about how you were able to hear from him. Let's hear from Braylon and what he had to say on his commitment day.
Where I felt most comfortable at, and I know I can come in and I can do what I do there, and I can, be a leader. I can lead by example and by, vocally. So me going to Auburn, essentially was a business decision. And I know what I got to do to get Auburn where everybody expects them to be. So, that's what I'm going to do. Everybody at Hartfield has been, supportive. They've done nothing but support me. They've been behind me. That's what you want from a community. I'm just blessed.
We're so excited. It's just a blessing to have both of our kids at the same place. My daughter is at Auburn as well, playing softball. So to have our whole family together in one place, it's great.
To be honest with you, just today it's a dream come true, because you never expect for your son to be in this spot. So just seeing him do what he's done over the years, it's just been a great journey.
That's awesome sound there from the family. It's so great because we have a lot of guys that are here in the Mobile area, and I'm sure it'll run some parallels with what you guys have, where they grow up as fans of another school or even that school, and they say, okay, well, they kind of take the kid glasses off, so to speak, and now you're almost making a business decision. You heard there was some family there, that his sister was there as well. From his background, how much did Auburn really play a factor in it? How much did his sister play a factor in it? Did he grow up an Auburn fan? And all the things that led up to the decision pre him being a star football player?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot that goes into it. I can't claim to know everything that went into his decision. I do know that, nowadays money is involved a lot more as well than it has been in the past. So when he says it's a business decision, I think it kind of hints toward that. And he also mentioned to me at a practice recently, that it would, he used the word stable. And those are just kind of like context clues that lead me to think that there was also some different kinds of offers that have been involved. But ultimately, when you're in the South, these are a big deal. Any of these schools. What's interesting to me is the fact that there isn't a top 15 recruit from Mississippi this year who is going to a Mississippi institution like the Ole Miss or Mississippi State. So that's an interesting trend that people are choosing maybe to not go to those schools as much right now. And it's such a complicated field. Is it because, is my position available? Am I going to start? Am I going to play? What are the offers? So I think it is a little bit deeper than maybe I even have the full knowledge on. But I think those are the factors that go into it. And it is just fascinating, right, that his sister was already there, so they'll be together. And, of course, you heard the parents just so proud. So I do think that those are the elements that go into that decision. How much he weighed one over the other, I can't say for sure. But those are all reasons why he would be led to, the Final Four and then the Final One.
Right.
Yeah, David, I know you talked a little bit about how he is the #1 safety in the 2026 class. How big of a win is this for Hugh Freeze over at Auburn? I know you cover mostly Mississippi schools, but, they jumped from number 54th in the 2026 recruit rankings up to 35.
Yeah, any program right now, especially with the transfer portal, wants to be bringing in anyone they can from any way. And one of the best ways is to get someone right out of high school, because there needs to be that developed relationship from the start. When you're recruiting someone, we always hear about them say, they reached out to me first. They showed me they wanted me. Whereas, transfers, you can transfer, it can be a quicker kind of thing in the middle of someone's career. So for Auburn, a program with another Mississippi guy, you could say, Hugh Freeze, going, over to Auburn now after his history in the Magnolia State, it is big. This is a guy who can play both sides of the ball, although he is going to specify as a safety. But just to look back at what he did just last year and the impact he made, again, even with some of these other major stars recognized nationally on Hartfield's team last year too, and Reggie Vaughn and Kenzie West, he intercepted 8 passes and returned 4 of those for touchdowns.
Wow.
He also had 39 tackles. And just for fun, the offensive side of the ball, he caught 54 passes for more than 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, and returned a kickoff and a punt for touchdowns. So that just speaks to his versatility. He's a good wide receiver. He's an even better defender. I think that for an Auburn program that's looking to build and make a name for itself, you have to bring in guys like this, and not only for the on-field product that he is going to contribute to, but just for the perception that we can get a top guy like this, and we can poach them from a state that has 2 SEC schools that are major, where maybe, you know, a lot of people grow up watching Ole Miss and Mississippi State, but we can get them to come over to the Alabama side here. I think that that perception is just as valuable as what he's going to do on the field, and no doubt he's going to have a big impact for that team.
Absolutely. Listed at close to 6 foot, almost 200 pounds. Are there some comps that you've heard as far as whether it's guys in college football or even in the NFL or even previous guys, past guys, that where his skill set reminds you of X player and what Auburn fans can expect from him moving forward?
I think he looks a lot like me. Obviously, I think I can just go right out there. You know,
I believe that. I believe that.
Yeah, I haven't really heard any specific comparisons, just because of the fact that he is that versatile, that it's kind of like, what are you going to do? Put like 2 players in one?
Yeah.
But I will say that the elements that they're talking about, the qualities that they're using to describe him are just the quickness, the pivot speed, the explosion, those kind of things that make him so dangerous. You just basically don't want to throw the ball to his side of the field. And then he's also involved in those tackles where he can just run right up, and, you know, if you slow someone down for a little bit, he'll just come in right from the side. So pick your favorite player that can do those things and then multiply that by someone else too. I think that that's kind of what the conversation on the sidelines is, where you're just not necessarily comparing him to someone else or saying, you know, he looks like that, but it's more like, man, this is a guy who other people are going to be compared to.
Absolutely. And I know we brought you on to bring about this phenomenal talent that's in your area that's going to an SEC school. But, of course, you and your teams are also opening up the season this year. Some really interesting matchups as Mississippi State makes that move, and they'll go play over in Hattiesburg. Just a quick thought on college football, the way it opens up for the teams that you're involved with Ole Miss and Mississippi State, and just some of the ways that you and your team are getting geared up for week 1.
Sure. Well, Mississippi State first we'll talk about, because they're playing that in-state rival, not really rival necessarily, but, you know, anything in Mississippi is going to be kind of a prideful community-based battle. So Mississippi State going down to play Southern Miss. Head coach Charles Huff there, of course, just won the Sun Belt Championship with Marshall and brings Braylon Braxton, the quarterback who's on all these award watch lists, over with him from Marshall, where they won the championship together, and a bunch of other guys too. He is talking about the Golden Eagles being healthier than ever and setting their system. But he says, man, I really wish we didn't have to play Mississippi State week 1 because Mississippi State is a team that's coming in with this fresh start. Blake Shapen coming back from injury. A lot of new transfers are coming in. What is this team going to be? And can they set the tone and say, look at what this year was supposed to look like. This is what last year was supposed to be before Shapen went down and things just didn't go their way. Can they get on the right trajectory here? And all the past will be forgiven if they can do so. So it's going to be a matchup in week 1 of 2 teams that are getting these fresh starts and looking to prove themselves. And then on the Ole Miss side of the ball, they're starting off at home against Georgia State. Not necessarily a team that we're looking at as like the biggest game on the schedule, but it is something where they start off and need to start quickly, because what do they have in week 2? An SEC game against Kentucky. That's when it's immediate. I mean, immediately. Plus, next year we're gonna have 9 SEC games. So, Ole Miss is coming in, I think, with the mentality of we need to get on our horse quickly, and not that they wouldn't say that in any season, but they're going to learn a lot about themselves with a new quarterback in Austin Simmons in week 1, seeing him come out as the guy, not just the guy to replace Jackson Dart at a moment's notice like he was last year. Can he come out? Can this offense flow? Can they get things going the right way so that they are feeling confident heading into week 2? Because we all know what happened against Kentucky last year on the road, where Ole Miss lost, and you could say point to any little moment you want. But at the end of the year, Ole Miss was beating Georgia. Ole Miss was going to have a chance against Florida to punch their ticket to the 12th college football playoff. And when you look at their resume, and they came in number 13 ranked nationally in that week, how could they have gotten 1 spot higher? Maybe you don't lose on a last-second field goal in your first SEC game of the year. It's even earlier there. So those are, I think, the big storylines overall.
David, before you go, I want to go back to Southern Miss a little bit. Our guy Charles Huff over there. Do you have any Mississippi-only food chains? I need to know here.
You see, you're asking a New Jerseyan, New Jersey.
I'm a New Yorker myself, so I'm in.
yeah, I know. You and me from, Rochester and Utica, where I feel like, I get the question, right? Because you're asking, like, where's the tomato pie? Where's the garbage plate? Where's the Utica greens from up north?
Yeah,
only food chains. You know what's funny? I just didn't realize that like a Checkers was also called a Rally's.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know that
too.
That's a Southern staple.
I used to go there as like like a kid in Florida, like a kid visiting my grandparents in Florida. We go to like Checkers, and then people are like, "Oh, it's Rally's," and I was like, "Oh, they're everywhere." But I don't know if there's any. Oh, I know like local things. I know the local restaurants that are not chains though. They're just like the really good spots to stop. In Hattiesburg, I've got a barbecue place.
I asked this because if you go back to Huff at Marshall last year and what he said before the Ohio State game, he was kind of trying to lure the players away with Tudor's biscuits up in West Virginia. So I was wondering if Mississippi's got any opportunities for that.
Listen. I don't know because he might not be doing that anymore. Charles Huff was his biggest thing that he said in his preseason press conference was about this new plan that all of his players are on to become leaner and stronger, and how they're weighing them before every practice, and they're saying, what decisions did you make on Saturday and Sunday that you gained 5 pounds between Friday and Monday? So they actually have a plan where they are educating their players in like classroom settings, is my understanding, one-on-one conversations to teach them how to go food shopping in stores, buy the right foods, make the right dishes, eat the right amount of proteins and grains and all of that. So I don't know.
That cares about his players.
Home chef.
Wow.
Yeah, no, but that was the biggest thing. We kept asking him about like the players and the schemes, and he was like, the biggest thing I'm most excited about is how conditioned and physically fit my team is. And he went through this whole game plan of like going to like a Kroger. So maybe it's that.
I mean, it's like the new wave of coaching now where he's teaching his guys how to grocery shop. I know a lot of coaches instill financial literacy classes for their guys. I mean, it's great.
That's big. Investing, I mean, especially as these athletes are having access, hopefully, to more money than ever before at this stage in their careers. So it's I mean, listen, I took like one high school like cooking class, and so I'm like a level 1 chef or something with the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, but I don't think I'll be making any like chicken broth anytime soon. I'll just open up the can.
I love it. And that's a really interesting insight, really interesting as far as what Charles Huff is doing. And I think that's something that we will see in college football from here on out. David, I know you're so busy, man, and we really appreciate you taking time out and joining us here ahead of week 1 of the college football season.
Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job. It's always an honor to be here with you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to David Edelstein. And he mentioned a great matchup there in the Magnolia State. 2 teams, and when you see on paper Southern Miss and Mississippi State on the field with one another, you just expect that game to be in Starkville. And I think it's really interesting that Mississippi State said, no, we'll go down to Hattiesburg. And that's got to be really cool for the people there in Hattiesburg.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about economies earlier in the show. We talked a lot about money. That's really going to help.
Big time.
Team over there.
Big time boost there. Really interesting matchup between the team from Marshall that basically just came south. And we'll find out how they stack up against an SEC opponent as Jeff Lebby and company go into year 2 with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we have lots to get into. We might also be able to get on the horn with our girl and see if we can get touch base with her live and in person, not just a cardboard cutout here representing the spiritual energy of our one Simone Eli. We'll have so much more. We also have some best bets. We'll talk a lot more college football as week 0 in the books and week 1 is to come. Stay with us here on Southeast Sports Plus. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, it is game week officially for the teams in the SEC. Got a little bit of an appetizer.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Our boy David Edelstein, I think this is a great idea. David Edelstein said, hey, this is the new year. Forget January. Everybody's waiting for one day, and that's the first day of the college football season, and that is to come a little bit later on this week. But in my opinion, it's the new year. I will adopt David's thought on that. We have talked to you all show long about our partner in crime, Simone, Eli, and we've had our cardboard cutout here as kind of like it's a representation of her spiritual energy that's kind of with us in studio, and we did this when she was on the golf course. It was a lot more fun when she was on the golf course, but now she's working. She's on assignment here. I'm not actually working. I shouldn't say actually working. She works hard. If she wasn't working, we wouldn't have this show. But she's joining us right now, and it's going to be so good to see her here in the guest box as a host. Number one, how are you, my friend? We miss you, and how is week one of the college football season treating you?
Well, it's going really well. It's also week one of pumpkin spice latte season.
Oh, here we go. PSL. Of course she has one. Of course she has one.
First of all, it's tomorrow. This is still my brown sugar shake and espresso, but I do plan on joining the show virtually tomorrow to at least show you my very first PSL of the season. So that is coming. I am very excited. Look at my new super on assignment. Yes, I'm on assignment, guys.
I love it.
I'm official. I'm official here. I miss you guys. How's the show going? How's life? I'm a guest on my own show.
I love it. No, it's gone well. Roger Wallace was awesome as usual. David Edelstein was incredible. They have the number one safety in the entire country going to Auburn right there in his neck of the woods. And so they knocked that out of the park. And, of course, both of them are getting ready for big weeks right now. It's Ole Miss and Mississippi State playing in big games. And, of course, Texas playing that little matchup there in Columbus against
little matchup.
Just a tiny one.
Just tiny.
Just a tiny one. All right, first off, I want to get your thoughts overall, big picture of what this week is like for you. I asked this with Roger to begin with. Just like the hype of the college football season all kind of coming at a head, and you know that it's coming. And we talked about this with Roger.
Yeah.
No matter how many times you've done this before, I've done it for almost 2 decades now, and if this week always just feels interesting, always feels good because you know day to day what your Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday will look like throughout the course of the next 15 weeks or so. But this week is always a certain rush.
Yeah, this is multi-layered for me right now from a personal standpoint. I think that there was a time, of course, when I was in Birmingham and I covered the SEC, and you're going on a different road trip every single week. We were in College Station, or we were in Knoxville, or we were in Atlanta a lot, especially week one. So you're always gearing up for like, okay, when do you leave? Is it Thursday or is it Friday? And when do you start pregame coverage? And when started like working in Mobile, it was always like week one. I was just grateful that week one of the high school football season and week one of the college football season were not in the same. Because talk about overstimulation or over planning. Like there was just no way that was going to correlate, as you know, friend. And so I'm so glad that they don't fall on the same week. And then as you gear up for the start of the college football season, it really is. I have to agree with you and Roger. I mean, it's like a whole new year, and for a lot of people, they're thinking about like the start of the school year, and we don't go to school anymore. And although my son did start school, I don't really think about school. I just think about football, which quite frankly, nowadays in college, they don't think about school either. They're only thinking about football. I mean, they don't have to think about school. They're supposed to go to school, but are they really doing that? We don't even know. So, I mean, I do think it's just there's an excitement, and I think we're finally getting down to the nitty gritty. We can only talk about talking and talk about football for so much. We have to play some football, Patrick. Like, Lord Almighty, it is finally time to actually play some football. We got a little taste of it last week in Ireland with the issue with the field pain or whatever the heck was going on over there. And then monsoon. Now, I don't even know what was happening, but I looked up at the TV, and my husband was like, "You repaint the field at halftime." And I was like, "Wow, that's interesting."
Yeah, I mean, I watched a little bit of it to start. No one could catch the football. There was just nothing but rain.
It was awful.
I mean, it was awful.
Yeah,
That sounds like a game one, and that's one thing for coaches being married to a coach, and then for games, like when you have to go out there at full speed and hit somebody, you got to go out there and actually pitch pass for the first time in real speed and do all this for the first time. I think everyone is holding their breath and waiting to see what is this going to look like. Can we actually defend anybody? Can we tackle? Can we escape the pass rush? We'll find out. We're gonna find out.
Yeah, I mean, I know, Gerhard, we talked a little bit earlier on the show where it's like it's always interesting to get these. I don't want to say high quality matchups, but like in conference or against P4 v P4 in the early weeks of the season, because it's like it's kind of a crapshoot because you don't know exactly what you're going to get. And I mean, when you throw in new quarterbacks learning a new system, you really don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question, guys. I think that when you're sitting there, especially in this everyone's transfer portal shopped for, the last several weeks, and now it's like you roll it out there, and everyone has totally a different roster than what they had, when at the end of last year, right? So everyone's different. Everyone's moving around. So I think that's one thing, Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer has done such a good job of, is he's kind of kept his, and that's hard to do right now, is to recruit your own locker room. But when you roll out there and you hope that it's going to look how it's looked in scrimmages, or in the case of like Hugh Freeze, you hope it doesn't look like how it's looked in scrimmages. You don't really know, and until people are out there doing live reps, you don't know. And so I think that there is a lot of like, all right, we have a quarterback who's been here for 3 months and didn't know this scheme 3.5 months ago. How is this going to look against another Power 4 defense? And right now, football, like the college level, is the type of game where you really got to score 30 plus to win every night. I mean, gone are the days, guys. Gone are the days, as we know, of scoring a couple of touchdowns and gutting out this like huge gritty defensive battle.
Right. We talked about this with Roger a minute ago, and I want to ask you, because the news came out really late last week. SEC going to a 9-game conference schedule, and what that means moving forward.
I didn't even see that. Y'all broke the news to me when I was watching the show earlier. Patrick, I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's how much that's how much high school we were involved in last week, apparently, that we missed that they were going to the 9-game schedule.
Yeah, so it got voted on initially. It got officially. It's been floated around for, I guess, 2 years now. Now that it's here, we talked to Roger, and he thought that Texas, they're 3 opponents. He thinks they're scheduled. It's Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. I think Auburn obviously knows that Bama's going to be on the slate. What are your thoughts about just the permanent opponents overall, and maybe predicting who they'll be?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, how many permanent opponents are they doing?
Excuse me, Smoke.
Oh, you're good. 3 permanent opponents. Jeez, hacking up a lung over there, Patrick. Oh, let's hold down for us. Get yourself a drink, my guy. Get yourself a drink. You're good. So 3 permanent opponents. Who do I think they're going to be? I mean, obviously for Alabama, I think we're talking about, Auburn, talking about Tennessee. Third Saturday in October, Patrick, and then obviously, has this already come out? Has this information come out at this point in terms of who it is going to be?
No, not yet.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, I can tell you who some folks I would like for it to see, but they're obviously going to play the Iron Bowl, the third Saturday in October. That game certainly matters, and then I don't know, where do you get that third game from? I think there was a time where, you felt like one of the Mississippi schools mattered, but it mattered more when there were divisions. And so I don't know. What did Roger say about Texas?
His thought was, his thought was Texas is their 3 opponents will be. I thought it was good. I thought it was, we're back now. We're back. So no, the Texas 3 opponents, he thinks that they're squared. Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas. I think Auburn is going to be Auburn, Alabama, of course, and then Georgia will be 2. Then there's a third that's open right now. Could that be one of the Mississippi schools, State or Ole Miss? Could that be Florida, LSU? I saw one publication that had Missouri as a possible team. For Auburn, yeah. And then because just to like throw a different wrinkle out there. And then for Alabama, I think it'll be, of course, Alabama. It'll be the Iron Bowl, and then of course the Tennessee game. And I think you have to keep the LSU game. Like to me, like
for some reason my brain was going to Mississippi and not to LSU, but of course I think it does have to be the LSU game. I think that's I think that like the Ole Miss game, even the Mississippi State game, back when you couldn't imagine those 2 teams not being on Alabama's schedule. And then I think Ole Miss wasn't on Alabama's schedule one of the last couple of years, or last year, or whatever that was. And so, it was like, hey, no, we're not really tied to this. And I do think, like you said, LSU is that game. For Auburn, yeah, no doubt. It's Georgia, obviously, the Iron Bowl. And then, I don't know, where do they go from there? I mean, LSU and LSU to Auburn is not, this does not carry the same weight as LSU to Alabama, and it's not even close. I don't think that I don't think Missouri is the answer, but I think maybe there's people that want Missouri to be the answer. I mean, I wouldn't see that. I'm big on like what is close, like in terms of like geographics. I think that's what really makes a lot of these games special and what they are. But then I also think in terms of entertainment value, the A&M game has certainly had a lot of like, that's one that just kind of sticks out to me in terms of, and then Tennessee, there's been games, it's not every year, but there have been games. Of course, it was every year at one point, but that the Tennessee Auburn game mattered. Again, does not have the same, glamour and glitz, of course, as the third Saturday in October. But it'll be interesting. Yeah. I mean, what I want to know is how does this impact where we go from here? How does it impact these games that the three of us have talked so much about for this week one in these big time matchups and these non-conference matchups? Do we lose a bunch of those because the SEC is shifting to a 9-game schedule? I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that there's an extra wrinkle, and I think teams will take advantage of this in different ways. The extra wrinkle being that they also still have to play a Power Four, and Roger brought up a great point where most teams already have their schedules done through about 2029, and Roger brought up Texas. They're already playing. They already have to play the return game with Ohio State. They're already going to have to play Notre Dame. It's already scheduled, and so they're kind of well positioned in my opinion. But then now, so do teams go? No offense, Northwestern, but do you go to play Northwestern? Do you go to play one of these like
Purdue in there?
Yeah, a Purdue,
Syracuse.
Whoa!
Shots fired!
Wow,
shots fired
that was uncalled for. Throw one of these in there.
Do you go like kind of try to scalp off one of like the lower end of the Power Four because you know that you have to play that third really hard conference game?
Yeah, I mean, again, and what is the lower end? Because the lower end, I feel like, I mean, for the love of the Lord, Penn State is second in the AP poll, right, or whatever poll it is. Like this is, there was a time where they were a lower end, right, and they're not anymore. Yeah, I think that it flips so quickly. I do think that we've seen teams not really follow through with some of those home and homes that are like, it's happened. It's not like those home and homes have to happen. If you're scheduled through 29 because you have a home and home and whatever, then those are done, years in advance. I think that there are different ways to go about navigating those games if it's not going to cater properly to your college football playoff hopes or what that looks like. Was there any discussion? And again, I mean, like I said, I'm out doing stuff completely unrelated to college football, so I feel a little bit out of the loop a little bit. But was there any discussion about how what the SEC would possibly do with the conference championship game?
Nothing that I've seen as far as no, and there wasn't any made mention of it when the release came out. I believe that they'll still look at the college football playoff. Obviously they put the college football playoff put the metric in there saying that strength of record will be a part of the whole reasoning, and I think that's the reason why this passed the way that it did. I think if they stay 12, they'll keep the college football playoff. Or sorry, I think they'll get rid of the college football playoff. If they go to 14, which I expect them to do, or maybe even 16, then maybe just keep it in there because those two are guaranteed in, and so that if you still make those dollars and still have 4 teams or maybe even 6 teams or 5 teams in the college football playoff, then it wouldn't really matter to have those 2 teams basically battle it out for the number 1 seed, and the other gets the number 3 seed in the playoff or whatever the case is, and however it breaks down. But nothing official as far as getting rid of that game or guaranteeing that it stays there in Atlanta. But but also, hey, before we go, we cannot. We're going to explain the betting elements to you.
Yes.
In more detail when you get back. I know your head's full of stuff.
For 3 years. You're 3 years into trying to do this.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Unsuccessful years.
Here's the thing. I think over the 3 years, I've planted enough seeds to where you know a lot of the basics, and now you're ready to fire in on them. Are there any games?
Do I get to do this right now? What do I get to do?
Are there any games that you will blindly say, I don't care who the favorite is or who the underdog is, I would bet that team.
Let's just start there. Let me blindly say it.
Blindly tell me of the week 1 matchups who you would say, I don't care who's the favorite or who's the underdog, I am betting this team to cover this spread. And obviously you don't know the numbers, you don't know the spreads, but you tell me the blind bet and I'll tell you what the number is.
Oh, I like this game. This is okay. Let me pull up the schedule. I'm not looking at the the over/under.
There you go. Sort of.
See?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, what is it? The line.
Yeah, the line's the line. The line's the spread. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, hold on. I'm not looking at the line here on this app with the games. I'm not gonna have Bowling Green cover. Okay, so let's just start there.
Wow.
Nothing against my Falcons. Hold on. Okay, let's look at top 25 matchups. Here we go. All right. I will. So you're asking me what game what game will cover?
As an example,
blindly?
For example, I love Alabama's offense. I think they cover. I don't care what the number is.
Okay. Tennessee, Syracuse.
Ooh, shots fired again because that's a big number. It's 2 tutties. She's saying that Josh Heupel, Joey Aguilar and company are going to go out there.
You think Josh Heupel is just going to rain it down on Fran Brown, who wants to shower? This guy needs to shower.
He needs to shower. All I'm saying is, I really hope to God that on Monday we can revisit all of these Syracuse Tennessee conversations because they have really been the joy of my life. They really have. Okay. Let's see. I'm scrolling. Who's the quarterback at Oregon?
What's that?
The quarterback at Oregon. Ooh, first of all, let me just say this. I will take LSU over Clemson, which it would be, and right now Clemson is favored in that game. I did look at the line there.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I think that's like stunning to me. I'm a little bit surprised by that. I don't know. I am not sold on Dabo Swinney. I'm just not sold on Clemson until they start the season like with 4 straight wins. I'm just not buying into that. I really am not.
Wow.
So you think Brian Kelly's finally going to win an opener?
Yeah, finally being the opportunity.
Finally winning.
Yeah, I do. I mean, God, just shoot the way y'all talk. I mean, they're going to win a dang national championship.
I don't know. I mean, depending on who you ask, Kate Klubnik might be the best quarterback in college football.
AP preseason first team All-American.
Just ask y'all. Ask y'all. I mean, the way you guys
beat
talk.
out Garrett Nussmeier. Honestly, I don't hate that LSU pick, and especially because it's 3.5. So if LSU loses by 3, you still win your bet at most houses. So in my opinion, I still like the number at 3.5. Now at 3, it might be a push. Right? Yeah, 3 is not as fine. Another matchup that I saw that I really liked is who was it? Oh, it was the Virginia Tech South Carolina game, and our girl's been talking about this one for a long time. South Carolina 7.5. 7.5. So they get 7 and the hook. So in my opinion,
I like that. I would roll with my girl Mariah Ross on that one.
Heck yeah. Oh, by the way, we heard some more from Shane Beamer, and he says some things should be left in house. Talking about the poop thing. Remember we talked about it on the show.
Do I? Oh, I remember.
Weird poop bag discussion.
So last week on the show for the uninitiated, if you don't follow South Carolina football, OC Mike Shula gives Lenore Sellers plastic poop. It's not real poop, but it looks like poop. And
I really love this.
And Shane Beamer came out and said, some things probably should be left in house. That should have been one of them.
He's probably not wrong there. But what I love is that I did not know. I set that up by saying that last week I had no idea what this was about, and then I look in the rundown because Patrick was putting the show together, and it was like poop bag discussion, and I was like, what? Who gave this young gun complete producing control over this show, and what is weird poop bag discussion? And wow, did we have fun with that? That was great.
Well, I love the fact that Lenore Sellers, he didn't just walk through the door. He kicked that thing down. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna let you in on everything that's going on here. I get bags of poop when I throw interceptions and everything.
I know, and he was like proud of it. He was like proud to have the conversation. Like he was revolutionary. And what I love is that coaches, especially like a Shane Beamer, who is kind of a traditionalist, I feel like they have a little bit of like uneasiness about how much there is just kind of an open door policy and just social media, digital media, the way things just blow up a little bit.
Yeah.
When it comes to, just what's really happening behind the scenes. But it's hard to keep everything in house nowadays with all those different techniques and tools. So
love it. All right, what's your week look like, my friend?
Well, it's a big week, guys. Don't know if you know this. Well, Patrick does. We've talked about it. But I'm going to a little baseball
Nice. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I know everyone thinks I'm just out here partying, but I am actually working, doing a lot of different things with our next star's Olympic lead up and doing some really cool stories with this. So really, really excited and loving that, even though it is a super busy time when it comes to college football. So doing a lot of neat stories as it relates to just the Winter Olympics and getting ready for Milan Cortina. But we are getting to go on a trip we're here in New York. I'm not in New York City yet, but I'm in New Jersey right now. I'll be in New York City tomorrow. And on Wednesday night, I get to go to Citi Field to check in with the Mets and see what they're all about. This is Patrick's the love of his life.
This is his
and
team.
so
this is what I did last weekend.
The Mets and Kenzie. It's like the Mets, Kenzie, and golf and Kenzie, but then the Mets probably have a little bit of a lead on both those topics.
No, I drove up to Atlanta Saturday morning. Got to see one win, one loss. But
I know.
At least you get to see them in Citi Field.
Who are they playing? I don't even know who they're playing.
The Phillies. So that's a big matchup because they're, I believe, 7 games behind the Phillies with 7 games. Yes.
7 games behind?
Yes.
That seems like a lot.
Don't. See, now you got me all riled up again about this, little slump that they're in.
No playoff chances. Yeah,
7 games behind the Phillies with 7 games left to play in the season against the Phillies. So hey, it's a big series.
Yeah. This is monster. And I think you think about it differently, Patrick. You got to think that our girl's going to go down there and sprinkle some magic pixie dust on your team. Well, and next thing you know, it's onward and upward.
She's going to see Juan Soto, and then Juan Soto's going to hit 4 home runs.
She is.
Hey, my Dominican
Give
brother
us your
who
best
wears the
swing.
double
Give us
deuce.
your best swing. Yeah, that's a bomb.
You already know.
Boom.
Bro, you go watch some of that. Go watch some of my golf video from last week. I'm just telling you.
Check
Your girl's
it out.
getting better.
I saw
Your
it.
girl's getting
I
better.
saw it. Love it.
Some folks feel like I'm taking over professional golf and giving up television. So, in my dreams, someday that is happening. Maybe someday soon.
God,
probably not.
We love it. Hey, we love you, my friend. You be careful.
Love y'all. I miss you guys.
You eat some New York pizza, some New York hot dogs, and go root on the Mets for us.
Say less. All that will be happening. So lots of pizza, and I will bring you guys back something. Hopefully, I'll be bringing back a dub for P-Dub. So we'll see.
Bring back 3 dubs.
You're the best, Simone. Eli out on assignment in the Empire State. And got a big one. Not only work-wise, but also she's going to try to give some good luck to our boy Patrick Walsh in the New York Mets.
Need it bad.
Need it badly.
Really
yeah, they're 5-5 over the last 5. But you're right, 7 games back. You have 7 against them.
This is where the season really starts now.
You can't control your own destiny.
We're 1 week away from September, and I know their schedule is not favorable to make the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I mean they've got a bunch of teams over 500 in September.
Right, and my Cubbies are right there in that same spot where they're second in the division. Still got a shot though. So lots of baseball to get into, lots of college football to still dive into, so much more on Southeast Sports Plus. Stay with us. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus, closing up here the very first day of game week. And I am adopting David Edelstein's whole mantra of Happy New Year as the college football season begins in earnest this upcoming week. I know there were some games, including a big game across the pond there, Patrick, over the past weekend.
Yeah, Iowa State taking home the win back across the pond in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. That one over in Dublin, and kind of a monsoon that we saw there. Both teams having trouble getting some offense going. I know a muffed punt that put Iowa State in scoring inside the red zone and then unable to do anything with it. But as you could see, Iowa State did manage to pull out the win there, 24-21. Rocco Beck kind of settled the storm, weathered the storm.
Yeah,
there we go.
Literally.
Weathered the storm.
Literally.
183 yards. Continues his 17-game passing touchdown streak, which is unbelievable if you really think about it.
It really is. And it's a huge, obviously a huge win there for Iowa State. This program has really been knocking on the door for a really long time there. And Kansas State they're a well-respected program, but I feel like every year you can bank on Kansas State to lose a game like this, and it wasn't necessarily that they overall lost it, but I think when they go back to the course of their season, when they look back, they'll say, that's the game that we should have had. We should have had that game, because every year I feel like they're close and close and close. And it was also really good to see a lot of the fans from both sides. I know we talked last week to Lauren Tinkler, and she said that a lot of fans from the United States made that trek over. That's a different financial commitment that you're doing. I know both fans are probably going to use it as both, use it as a vacation and a chance to watch a college football team. But it was a really interesting matchup over there.
Yeah, and I mean, as we see the other Week 0 matchups, obviously Iowa State winning Farmageddon,
baby,
in Ireland.
Yeah.
UNLV had a scare against Idaho State there.
Yeah, they did.
We went back.
Yeah, they did.
Kansas pulling out the win over Fresno State, not again adding salt to the wound for K-State. Western Kentucky. Man, Maverick McAvoy. Pretty good guy. And then how about the Rainbow Warriors?
Yeah. That game was on our network here at WKRG on CBS. And I'll tell you what, Hawaii is an interesting story, because Hawaii is typically everybody's game that you bet at the very end, because they kick off so late, and let's say you lost some money and you want to have some money to bet the NFL the next day. Not that I've done any of this. That's the game that you bet on. But it was a really interesting situation with Hawaii. They leaned on a kicker who has a lot of talent, but he learned about it in a different way, Patrick.
Yeah, here is Kanze Matsuzawa on his learning to kick.
A big storyline last year when you were the starting kicker was you learned how to kick from YouTube videos, right? Obviously, you've been a year now in college football, so what was the next step to that development?
It's just like one game, like day by day. We focus on performance, not results. We always talk about process over results. Then if we have a good performance, that league's gonna win. And so process over results.
Process over results.
Process over results, and learn how to kick on YouTube.
Yes.
And that is hilarious.
That is the craziest thing I've heard. I mean, college football, there's so many good stories, but that one's crazy.
That is insane. The fact that he ended up helping his team win the game thanks to YouTube. Yeah, that's a new one. But process over results, I think it's a good life lesson for all of us as well. Stay with us here on Southeast Sports Plus. We have our best bets coming up next.
Neither of these QBs have seen defenses this good. I mean, I like a very low-scoring game in this one.
Okay. So even with all the hype, you like it going under.
Well, moving along here to number 2, LSU, they'll cover at Clemson, but they will not win. I mean, Brian Kelly, as much as I want to think that you're going to get it done this year, I think your Tigers, they'll put up a good fight, but there's a reason why Clemson is 77-5 in their last 82 games at home. I don't care if you want to say, hey, they play in the ACC.
Right.
I mean, it's tough to win there.
Very.
And then clapping back at Simone here earlier, I know what everyone's going to say. Here goes the Syracuse guy again. And I mean, you'd be right. But I love what Fran Brown is doing over at Syracuse.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's found another pocket passer in Steve Angeli to replace Kyle McCord, who just thrived in that offense last year. He could throw 50 times a game, and they'll still win.
Yeah, those are interesting ones. And the Syracuse one is actually really interesting to me because I'm with you because Tennessee lit it up last year, and if they still had Nico and Dylan Sampson, I would be like, okay, I like that 13.5. But it's a little tough there. I might have to go with you on the underdog there. Go ahead. I was going to say, but also think that, too, I think you're on the right track there with the Clemson LSU game. I think that LSU can cover because it's 3.5, 4, no matter depending on what book you look at. But I think LSU, if they win that game by 3, number one, or Clemson wins that game by 3, you cover your bet if you're betting over LSU. But yeah, so here's a look at my best bets. Look what I put there in the thing, though. Remember, it's early. It's still Monday.
These are the best.
Yeah, exactly. I still have a chance to tweak these a little bit later on. I love Bama. Love their offense. I think they cover that 13.5 easily there at Florida State. Notre Dame at Miami. Ooh. This is the one I went back and forth on. This is the one. This is why I said remember it's early, because I don't love this one. I like it as of right now, but still so much new with Coach Freeman and everybody else there at Notre Dame. It's an interesting matchup as they match up in Miami over there in Coral Gables. And then Shane Beamer taking on his dad's former school in Virginia Tech. And this game is an interesting one because it's one of those, obviously it's a neutral site game. And South Carolina, to me, has so much momentum from last year. And forget the poop thing and everything else that's gone on in this offseason. I just think Lenore Sellers is in for a really, really strong season. And I think that Virginia Tech obviously has a lot to, there's still a lot for them, in my opinion, before they can get where they want to be. I think they're a really talented football team. But I like South Carolina in that matchup a lot going into it. And those are my 3. And that's also a Sunday afternoon game, which they have a day extra to prepare for it.
We'll see you tomorrow, 2 to 4, Southeast Sports Plus. Take care.